Well, good evening, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Welcome into our Saturday night show. Gosh, I've got such a great show for us tonight. I have one of my research buddies in the studio tonight. We have David Pardue out of North Carolina here in the studio tonight. And he has had some interesting activity going on at his home, on his property, where he lives in North Carolina. Not only does he have a long history of fantastic Bigfoot and other cryptid evidence, they're near his home now. Okay, and so he has set up cameras around his property, and has some stories to tell tonight. Okay, and we have some pictures to show you guys involving a potential reptilian and plenty of Bigfoots. Okay, so you guys go get your popcorn. Thank you so much for spending your Saturday night here with David and I tonight. We're going to have such a blast talking about this, and we got a lot to talk about. So if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and everything I'm doing, please go to my website. That's thecryptidhuntress.com. You can find all of my shows there, my calendar of events that I have that are coming up, including let's see, the Spaced Out Radio Fan Party. That's going to be in Reno, Nevada in about 2 weeks. Oh my gosh, it's coming up really soon. So I hope you guys will come and join me there in person. We're going to be broadcasting live on Spaced Out Radio in Reno. And so Rob G is going to be there, Dave Scott, and the whole crew at Spaced Out Radio. So y'all come see me, and it's always a good time. Also, if you'd like to support my work and everything I'm doing, you can join my Patreon and become a member. That's the Cryptid Huntress over on Patreon. And also, man, I want to thank everybody who's been buying jewelry out of my shop, and just, you guys, that means the world to me. Thank you so much. I do throw in free merch with purchase. We're Woman Goods over on Etsy. So thank you to everybody who has been supporting me. And thank you guys just for being here. That's plenty of support in itself. Okay, well, let's get to our guest tonight, because I don't want to waste any time. As y'all know, I like to get to the good stuff. And I like to get to the good stuff quick. All right. So I told you that I have David Pardue here, and he has been having some interesting activity on his property, including a potential portal opening up, which he has documented, and a reptilian-looking being coming out of this portal. Okay, so in the portal, and his neighbors have also experienced it. We're going to talk about them. He's got some neighbors who are children who have actually experienced potentially a Bigfoot, maybe a reptilian. I'm going to let David tell us about that. But David Pardue had his first Bigfoot experience at the age of 16 and on his aunt's farm. And this sparked a deep interest in understanding just what that 6-foot-tall bipedal creature that he watched run across a tobacco field while leaving 14-inch tracks behind was. His interest in Bigfoot led him to research the subject in depth, and finally, after years of his own private research, to join BFRO in 2006 as a field investigator. He joined the Carolina Bigfoot Field Research, CBFR, in 2014, and in 2018, David founded the Carolina Cryptid Field Research Team, CCFR, with the help of Terry Windell of Rock Hill, South Carolina. They conduct field investigations and research throughout the Southeastern United States. And you guys can find the Carolina Cryptid Field Researchers on Facebook and on YouTube. So please help me welcome to the show my friend, David Pardue. Hey, David.
Hey. It's a joy to be here. Always is whenever you ask me to be on there. It's a pleasure. It's an honor. You're one I look up to.
What? You look up to? I look up to you, David. You're one of the... I mean, to me, you're like the OG of Bigfooters, okay? In my opinion, you've been in this longer than I have, and you've got some fantastic evidence, and I have a lot of fun with you and the guys out in the field when we're out there doing some Bigfooting. So I look up to you. It is an honor to have you here on my show tonight. So thank you for being here.
It's a pleasure.
Well, thank you. Okay, well, you actually, okay, so a couple of years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, you did come on my show, which was at KGRA Digital Broadcasting. And now tonight, we actually have a way bigger audience, let's just say. And so I wanted to introduce you to everybody and kind of give the audience an idea about your background. I gave a brief introduction, but kind of, if you wouldn't mind telling the audience kind of how you got into the Bigfooting and just a little bit of background on yourself.
Okay. The interest in Bigfoot goes all the way back to my childhood and seeing the Patterson footage and you know, all the movies, the books, all that stuff that come out. It was something I was interested in from old enough to read, basically. And then at 16, I was down on my aunt's farm, and you know, I grew up down in that part of the country, and I had never seen anything. I had never heard anything. And I'm just waiting on them to get home from work. I got there a little bit early that day, and I'm sitting on the tailgate of my car, and I see this thing stick its head up above a chicken coop that I helped build. So I knew the size of it. I knew how big the back of it was, and at first I thought it was a raccoon trying to get into the coop to get into where the chickens were. And it was late afternoon, but not dark. It was plenty of light out. And I said, well, I'm going to go down there and scare the coon away. And as soon as I stood up and started walking, this, what I thought was a raccoon, it was the head just bobbed back down below the back of this chicken coop, which was about 6 foot off the ground at the back. And it was taller than, it was just kept sticking its head up. And but as soon as I started walking for it, I heard a big crash, and it went through a windrow. And then all of a sudden, this man, I thought, and dressed in black, run across the tobacco. And at this time of year, it was the fall of the year, tobacco was getting ready to be harvested, and it was, the plants were at least 5 foot tall. And this thing, when it run across, the plants were at, you know, at its armpits, but it flowed across. It didn't bounce. It was just like watching a black plastic bag blow across a field. It was real smooth. And growing up in tobacco, you always took care of the plants. You didn't step on the plants. You were very careful. This is cash crop. And so about that time, my uncle came home. I told him what I just seen. And so we went down to investigate it. And there was these great big strides where this thing had run and left big, huge tracks. I mean, he was, you know, he was a grown man. I was 16. I was almost grown. Our boots in the tracks were no comparison to the size of these tracks. It was huge. And, you know, a few years went by after that, never heard nothing, never seen anything else. And this is about the time the internet was rolling in, and I found the BFRO. And I had done some field investigations up to that, you know, here in North Carolina locally. Just anytime I heard a story, I tried to talk to the people and find out exactly where it happened. And by that time, I had figured out that Bigfoot didn't just live on the West Coast. We had them here in North Carolina on the East Coast. And so I kind of figured out that what I'd seen at 16 was probably more than likely was Sasquatch. And so I joined the BFRO. I went on an expedition to West Virginia, and I got broken in to Bigfoot the very first night there. And I got rocks thrown at us. We got infrasound, screamed at, the whole 9 yards. And we went back to base camp. It was just 3 of us when that happened, and I'm keeping it real short. And I led the rest of the seasoned investigators for the BFRO back to the location, and there was multiple squatches, 4, maybe 5, and they repeated the same thing with 13 of us that did with 3. So I got my very first outing. I got broke in really well. I got to learn how they are, what they are. I got the daylight scared out of me that night, but that just increased the curiosity, the drive to find out what this thing was. And I basically haven't stopped since.
Oh my gosh.
So
Okay, so I think, David, the same thing kind of happened to me the first time I ever went out. It was up there in North Georgia with Enigma Research Group. And when I went out there, the first weekend, I was hooked because we had so much activity. There was no going back to like after that happened. I was curious for more, but it was just so, I mean, it was just so all encompassing. And there was not just Bigfoot activity that we had, but we had like UFOs. I had never seen up close UFOs like that before, and orbs and all these other things that were happening around me. And it was almost like the universe made all that happen to both of us, probably to get us where we are today, talking about this, I guess, because you're very dedicated in the field.
yeah, I've been doing it a long time, and most of your listeners, they probably heard of, if any know anything about Bigfoot, they've heard of Uwharrie, North Carolina, and that was my research area. That's one of the main reasons that the BFRO filmed there was mine and the team I assembled to go into Uwharrie and Don Tart and all those guys. We were there, and it was every night that we were there, we had activity, and I was able to kind of figure them out really quick just by the amount of experience, the experiences we were having every night, something. And over the years, they got closer and closer and closer to where we've had, with the BFRO, they classify sightings as Class A, Class B, or C. Most of the stuff that happened in Uwharrie would be a B or a A. And myself and Don Tart, we had multiple Class A sightings. Just it was unreal. A lot of the team members that you work with, they came to Uwharrie before it became famous, and some of them got to see that have their very first Class A sighting. So, but
Well,
I've been
Don
I've been
Tart
in
is
other
here.
places, but Uwharrie is where I learned most 90% of what I know about Bigfoot. I learned in Uwharrie. So
I love that. Well, Don Tart is in the chat. Hey, Don, I see him in here. And I talk about y'all so much. I swear on all the different shows that I do. I had mentioned a bit about my son having his first Bigfoot experience out there with you and Don and myself. So I want everybody to know this is David Pardue, who was with us when my son, I was talking about having my son out there, and Don, and David is the one also that taught my son about the deer poop. Okay, I've mentioned that a couple times on the
look,
show. That is so important, right?
he wants to be a serious researcher, and to be a serious researcher, you have to know what's naturally in the woods. You have to be able to figure out what's there, whether it's deer or squatch or what it is. There's other things that live in the woods besides Bigfoot, and 90% of what you find out there belongs to something else besides a Bigfoot. And to be a serious researcher, you need to know that.
Well, he's serious. He's serious about it now. He saw that was going to be that was a changer for him, a game changer when he realized he had to know what that was. But okay, well, I want to thank Andrew for that super sticker. That is so gracious of you. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate your support. Okay, so getting to Uwharrie up in North Carolina. Now, you said that it became kind of famous. That is probably because a lot of people who are familiar with I think it's Finding Bigfoot series. There's a TV show that highlighted and spotlighted Uwharrie. Now, tell the audience what happened and how did that change your research up there?
Well, the main area that they showed on the show, that was our main research area. So 2 weeks after that episode aired, the place was flooded with amateur Bigfooters, and I tried to go and I'd pull into a campsite, get everything set up, and somebody would pull in beside you, and they would do wood knocks and howls half the night, and continuous. They would never even give it a chance to respond. And by that time, we had quit doing wood knocks for the most part because they knew who we were. They would come up to us. They recognized us. But every day, every week, it didn't matter when you went there, the place was full of amateur Bigfoot. and some seasoned people showed up too that I'm aware of, and but it ruined it. You only get really one chance for the Bigfoot. Once you destroy that trust that you built up with them, it's gone. It takes a lot to get it back. And with that many people going into your research area, and that's why we try to keep things secret, because it's hard enough to defeat to you know to figure out if something is really a Bigfoot sign or is it human activity that's doing it. So when you go into a new area, it's imperative that you keep everything tight, close to the chest, and don't share your information. But those people went in there. We had CDs hanging from limbs. We had peanut butter jars all over the woods, uh, and it's just now getting back. I know where to find them. We were there 2 weekends ago for Mike Green's memorial. We all got together and had a cookout and kind of memories, just talking old stories and stuff. And we had 3 of them come up on us the last night. We got to see eye shine on 3 of them. So they're still there. They're just very timid, and I know where to go. Don knows where to go. If we want to have a Bigfoot experience, we can go to Uwharrie and reliably have it, but it's not where people think. So.
Oh yeah. Yeah, the Bigfoots, I'm sure that, and people are saying in the comments tonight in the chat that I bet they probably got irritated. The Bigfoot, it not only could be frustrating for the researchers like yourself, but also for the Sasquatch that live there and the other cryptids, because that's just encroaching on their territory. And if I haven't learned anything, the one thing that I learn over and over again, especially when I do those remote viewing targets, is that Bigfoots are very territorial. And they don't like people getting in their environment that aren't supposed to be there, and I'm not saying that all these people aren't supposed to be there or whatever, but I'm just saying, like, it's something that really upsets them.
Yeah. And, I understand what people are doing. They want to go to a place to have that experience. But what most people don't understand, they're not the only one going there. They're one of 10 already that week. And when you do that week after week after week, all it does is the Bigfoot, they get irritated. A wood knock will bring one in. They will come in to find out what that is. But whenever there's a certain way to do a wood knock, there's certain patterns to doing wood knocks. And once you get out of that and you just out there rapping on trees, they figure out pretty quick what's going on, and they won't even come in. They go deeper, they move deeper into the forest. And that's where you have to find them now. It's deeper in the forest.
Or you could just walk in your backyard, apparently, right, David?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It took me a while to figure out what was going on here. We've been here right at 30 years on this property, and it's part of an old farm. Actually, the farmhouse where this land is right across the street from my house now. They just tore it down and built a new place there now, but the family that grew up in that farmhouse still lives around me, the ones that are still alive. These are people that are 70, 75 years old. One just passed, and I've talked to every single one of them. They didn't call it Sasquatch or Bigfoot. They call it Monkey Man. And as children, they experienced them as they were out playing in the woods on their off time when they weren't working in the farm. They would look up and there's this monkey man squatted down watching them, and said it would sit there and watch them play all day long. If they didn't get scared and run away, but it would sit there, just the curiosity of the Squatch. They would watch the kids play all day long. And she said the minute that you would stand up and walk toward it, of course it would turn around and bolt. And she said it may be a month or 2 before you seen it again. But they've been here, I know, just from my research and my investigations here on this property, for at least 80 years. And I'm sure they were here way before that. But I I've talked to people for the last been here for 80 years that have seen them and interacted with them. I mean, another neighbor that lives right beside me, he's been here. I have no how long he's lived here. He's been here ever since I have. And he was telling me one night this big bear just walked down his driveway on two legs, all the way down the drive, about 100-foot long driveway on two legs. And I said, "You sure that was a bear?" He said, "Well, I don't know, but it didn't pay me no attention."
Wow. Well, there's so many strange cryptids and sightings in North Carolina, of all places. And I've done some research myself up in North Carolina, and I have gone to Judicola Rock up there in Cherokee, near Cherokee. I have watched the sky ships over Cashers at night. I mean, I spent a whole weekend up there on top of a mountain. We had something running around our camp all night, like a witch. I was told it was a witch, Bigfoot activity. We even had a potential skinwalker. Okay. Like there was so much going on in there. And then I guess this past week, I just did a show on puckwudgies. Okay. Yep. Puckwudgies, the little guys, the little hairy bipedal things,
well,
and there's a video from North Carolina of those. Yeah. Go ahead.
I learned about that off that show. That's the first time I'd ever heard of them. So I learned something new every day.
I do too.
North Carolina is full of cryptids. It's from the coast to the mountains. There's something going on in North Carolina just about anywhere you go. I've got a really good place I go down close to Sanford, North Carolina, and that's the only one that I've dealt with that I carry a firearm when I go down there investigating. And that one kind of spooks me. That one actually came up when I was asleep in my truck and knocked on my truck window. And I think we talked about that last time I was on the show. And
well, you're gonna have to tell us again. You gotta tell me. I remember, but I know the audience is dying to know about that.
Well, we had got down to the site. It's down on the river, and I was supposed to be speaking at the conference there, the Come Not Bigfoot conference, that weekend, and I had got there late. Instead of setting a tent and stuff up, I just was going to sleep in my truck. We had to be on site at the conference first thing in the morning, and so I just slept in my truck, and I was there. There's 3 or 4 other guys there. We're all there camping. And 2 of us decided just to sleep in our trucks. And I had just laid my seat back and got comfortable. I wasn't asleep, and I hear a bam, bam, bam on my window. And I opened my eyes, and from where I was laying, the back windows of my F-250 Super Duty truck they're tinted, so I couldn't see outside. So I kind of just leaned up in the seat and looked out my driver's side window, and I had to look up. And my truck's lifted. It's 36-inch tires, and it's 7'3" to the top of the roof of that truck. And this thing was taller than my truck, and I could see his outline in the skyline. And I've got it on audio where he hits the truck. I sit up, and about 1 minute and 39 seconds, if I remember right, went by, and I had this gut feeling there was another one looking in my passenger window. For some reason, I thought one was looking at me. I started getting weirded out, and as soon as I turned my head to look out the passenger side window, it smacked my door and walked off. I guess it got mad because I broke eye contact with it. And it wasn't 3 foot away from me. And of course, as soon as that happened, I flipped my headlights on and try to get a sight of it as he was walking away, but I never did see it. But the next time I was down there, I got one shot of it sticking his head up over the riverbank. So I was able to get one night vision shot of him. But he's evil. That's the only one I carry a gun at.
Oh yeah.
Well, you also carry a gun out there. But
do you think that has an effect on your contact with a Sasquatch? Do you think that they will stay away from people who they know have boom boom sticks, you know.
In my experience, yes. Anytime I've been with people that carry, it seems to be we may have something happen, but they don't get intimate with you. They keep their distance, and I would too. And I don't know if they can sense that you're carrying by your emotions. You know, when you carry, you're a little bit more bulletproof or whatever you want to call you. A little bit more.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for here? But they seem to know. I don't know whether they can smell them or see them or sense them. But the encounters don't seem to be as intimate. They don't get as close. And as a safety issue, I mean, I've been doing this a long time and I still get spooked, but our team usually when we're out there, if we don't know the person and we don't know their handling capabilities of a weapon, I don't want to be standing next to somebody that gets the daylight scared out of them and they pull a pew pew and just panic. And I've had people that, and Don in the chat, he can tell you that we've had people that we've had to take out of the woods and they get scared. And you don't want somebody just randomly just start shooting off into the surrounding darkness. So.
No, and that's why it's so important. That's why we don't bring a whole lot of new people out into the field, I guess you could say, when we're doing our research. And if they go, and if they do take a gun or some kind of firearm or protection with them, they have to pretty much. We want everybody to. We want to know what everybody's got on them. You know what I mean? And just to be aware, okay. And so, anyways, I know it's a safety precaution, okay. And number one is safety out there, but we also have to keep our heads straight, okay, and to keep your nerves calm as they can. And that is just a big part of this research when you're out there, I guess. Right, David?
Yep. What's Mr. Ed saying there?
Ed said, ask Dave about the samurai chatter that he heard there too. Tell me about the samurai chatter you heard.
I believe it wasn't that night. It was one of the next weekend that we went, I believe. And I had called Ed. I needed a wingman. And Ed's local to me, and I went by and picked up Ed, and we went down there and hung out. And beside the truck over in the woods, opposite of the river, you could hear the sound like two old Japanese men talking to each other back and forth. At the samurai chatter, and we got some other vocalizations recorded there, some howls, just different stuff. It's another good spot.
Oh yeah.
And I think Ed was with me tonight. I got the one photograph of the one in that area. Ed was with us that night, I believe. I remember right.
Well, okay. Well, speaking of photographs, we have a lot of pictures to show tonight. And so let's just get into it. Okay, let's get into it. Should we start off with your activity at your home, or should we show the aliens and things like that? Where would you like to start, David?
Well, let's start with the Bigfoot stuff, because the reason that I got the reptilian thing was I had put cameras up for Bigfoot.
Okay.
Had I not ever had the cameras, I may not have went there. Or do you want to do the alien? It don't matter. You talking about the Uwharrie alien?
Let's do your backyard first. Let's do that first, because we're here. We want to hear about the reptilian in your yard, and I want to hear about your neighbors, the children over there that actually saw this. But before we go, or before we talk about it, T-Bone, thank you for that super sticker. I really do appreciate that. Thank you for your support. Okay, so yeah, let's just get into it. Let's talk about the portal, whatever's coming out of it, and your game cameras.
Okay. Well, I'll start out with the Bigfoot stuff, because it'll lead into that, because I wouldn't have never got that shot of the portals and stuff had it not been for the Bigfoot activity.
Okay.
but we were having stuff all the time. I work third shift. I get off early at night, come home at 3 o'clock in the morning sometimes when we got off early, and have rocks thrown at me. The house gets slapped all the time. About 4 years ago, our German Shepherd, actually, my girlfriend got to see her first one. The dog shot out the front door, and Trish, my girlfriend, got to see one standing at the back of her car in my driveway, and it just took off running, but the German Shepherd caught it and actually latched onto it. And you had the big dog fight out there and scared my girlfriend to death. And the dog never got really hurt except for the pads on her feet were rubbed backwards. And the best that I can figure is that the Squatch slung her off down the road and she slid backwards and chewed the palms of her paws off. And but her face, her jaws, her chest was covered in blood. Of course, when I get home from work, first thing I ask for is we get a blood sample. And my girlfriend's like, no, that's the last thing I was thinking about was a blood sample, But the big
you're thinking like a researcher, right?
Yeah. So and then I've got the one shot. It's not a really good shot. I put my first time I really put game cameras out. I went and bought some new game cameras, and the very first photograph on one of the new cameras was of a Squatch. I'll send it to you, Jessica, to look at. It's hard to see on a live stream, but you can see him plainly in the back there. But it's just progressed. I've got tracks. I think we've got some pictures of some tracks. These were got some last year. We had just had broken the garden and got it tilled up and was getting ready to plant. And the next morning, had a line of tracks going across the garden. That's right in my backyard. And then
wow.
I've been gifted stuff. They bring us gifts. This is outside my my shed where I keep all my equipment, my lawn stuff, and that's a possum skull. It was just sitting there one day when I come home got ready to go out to mow my yard. It's just sitting on the ramp to the building. And then about a week later, I think, they left me 3 turkey legs. Why they didn't give me all 4, I have no idea, but it's 3 turkey legs were left beside the building, and they were laid out in a way. And part of my experience with Bigfoot, anytime you find stuff like that, like 3 legs, it represents each individual animal in that group. So I'm gonna go on a limb and say the Bigfoot right here in my community, there's 3 of them in that family group. And
there's 3 feet.
Yeah, that's why I got 3 legs. And in Uwharrie, there's 6, and most of the stick structures you find down there's 6 sticks. That's a whole nother show, but I can show you the stick structures that we found that shows 6 sticks. And that goes back to West Virginia. They actually built a stick structure in between us, and that's where I come up with that the idea that the number of sticks represents the number of individuals within that tribe or that pack or whatever you want to call a group of Bigfoot. But
very cool. And you also have this rock that was left when you guys were doing some gardening. So that was a nice little gift as well.
Yeah, it's little odd stuff. Like, I don't document all of it. It's just little odd stuff all the time, every day. It might go 2 or 3 months and nothing happens, and then one day you go out there and that's some breaks. That the picture that I sent you that you seen, he's actually standing behind that break, and they built a blind.
Yeah.
So, and that's right there adjacent to an apple tree. So I think they use that area to not only get the apples, but the other small critters that come in to feed off of those apples, they hunt those as well.
Wow. Okay, well, tell me about the portal and this and that incident, because we've got some pictures to show of, and this is interesting because you showed me these pictures a long time ago. Okay, I've seen these pictures. You know what I was thinking that we forgot to bring up was that tree twist picture that you have. That is the best tree twist I have ever seen in my entire, I don't want to say career, because this isn't really a career, but my entire time is doing Bigfoot field research. This tree is huge and it's twisted over and over and over and over again. We forgot. I didn't even think to pull that one up.
Yeah, me and another researcher, Olaf, we found that back in 2007, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, Mike Green, if anybody out there knows Mike Green in the squeaky footage, Mike Green was actually out there retrieving some cameras, and he was able to see it before we cut it down. We preserved it and kept it. But yeah, it's an impressive tree twist. As far as I know, I've never seen anything larger. I've never seen anyone in, all my dealings with Bigfoot, I've never seen anybody present a tree twist of that size. It's massive. It's like from one end of the splinters to the other, it's almost 6 foot wide. It's huge. And it was a 6-inch poplar tree that was twisted like it was.
Yeah.
They twisted it like it was a twig.
I've never seen anything like it. I still haven't. And people send me pictures of tree twist. It does not compare to that tree twist. It does. Yeah. Nothing compares to that. So if we can get our hands on it one day, maybe we'll show it to the audience in the future. But that was a great picture.
Show just on sign. I mean, we could
Bigfoot
do another
sign.
4 hours just on sign.
Yeah.
And there's an interesting story to that whole tree twist, the Mike Green squeaky footage. I could do a whole show just on what transpired in that 50-foot section of forest. There's a lot. There's history to it other than just a twist.
Oh, I'm sure. And you've been researching these areas for years and years. So you actually have built up a relationship almost. Like you watched a young Bigfoot grow into a grown-up. Yep. So that's how long you were actually in there in these same areas where you actually know the families that are out there.
Yep. We actually in 2007, I think it is, we've got a game cam picture of a female with a baby on the hip. The daddy's there, and his little sister is standing off to the side. It's hard to see. You got to blow it up, but it's there. And the little one had bands on his eyes, like almost like a raccoon. He had banded eyes, and then I can't even remember what year it was now. It's whenever Hurricane Matthew come through, whatever year that was. We were in the woods in the pouring down rain. Ed Peters was there with me. My tent flooded. I could have put goldfish in my tent. That's how hard it was raining. And but I got 69 minutes of video of that little baby as an adult now. He's just leaned up against a tree watching us. You could see his eyes shine. That stuff I've never released to the public. I've never, there's a lot I have. There's a lot on my buddies. Don's got stuff. We're not out here to be famous. I probably could be famous with some of the stuff I've documented, but the only time anybody gets to see any of this stuff really is if I come on somebody's show and we'll share a few pictures. But there's a lot that I have that.
There is a lot. Yeah, well, that's why I'm glad you're here. Thank you for coming on the show tonight. Because we have more to show. And so, Don Moore's asking, can I ask you if these Sasquatch or anything on your property has ever bothered any animals that you have? Now, let's kind of get into the background of your home and what kind of animals you have on your property. And what might be attracting these cryptids onto your property?
Well, currently we raise chickens for the eggs. We have the birds. I've got 2 separate coops, so there's right many chickens. At any one time, I have up to 30 rabbits. I raise meat rabbits. And one of the things when I first got into rabbits and I built my first hutches, the ground was completely clean. All of us down on the ground was maybe some straw and some shavings or something that was on the ground. It was pretty much clear. And I would come home from work and go over and check on my new rabbits, and there'd be all these rocks laying on the ground in front of the cages. And I can only assume, I've never witnessed them do it, but I'm sure the Squatches were there throwing rocks at the cages, trying to figure out what's in this. It's something new. This is their environment. This is their home. This is their TV. And somebody changed the channel on them, and they're gonna figure out what's going on. But they've never messed with my rabbits. They've never messed with my chickens that I'm aware of. I've not seen the sign. I have at other places that I've investigated. They'll go in and rob chickens and punch their fists through the wire. I've seen that here in North Carolina, not too far from here. But other than my dog attacking that one that night, they've never messed with any of my animals that I know of.
Wow. Oh, David. Well, okay. So there was an investigation that I went on last year up in Tennessee, North Tennessee, and the lady's chickens had been getting taken out of her chicken coop, and something had taken a big stick and was poking it through the holes of the chicken wire in her fence. And I mean, there's it was only one chicken at a time, pretty much. And the only thing that was there was just feathers, but there was no blood. There were no chicken parts. It was almost as if a person had come out there and grabbed a chicken and ran off with it. And there was a line of feathers that went into the cave behind her house. And I'm kind of interested in getting your opinion on this while we're talking about it. Because we went up to this cave thinking that we were going to find some track, right, or some footprints to see wherever that chicken went. Whatever took the chicken would have left footprints, because the cave was full of mud on the inside, but there were no tracks at all inside that cave. But yet the chicken feathers led up into that cave. So it led us to think, well, maybe a Bigfoot climbed the wall of the cave, maybe, and was climbing on the side. I mean, or maybe it went through a portal. I mean, I'm thinking it might have gone through a portal, I guess, but it was just really odd. We also found big footprints beside the cage as well. So anyways, okay, so I was going to ask you about a portal. We're about to show pictures of a portal. Okay, so what would you think? Do you think that a Bigfoot would have climbed up the side of the wall inside the cave, or do you think maybe this thing went through a portal?
I would lean, now that I know what I know and what I've seen and experienced, I would not doubt that they entered into something. And, in my experience, there's 2 different type of Bigfoot out there. There's this flesh and blood that's it's just like a bear or a deer or a fox, anything else that naturally lives out in the woods. And then there's another cryptid that's very similar to a Bigfoot. It acts like a Bigfoot in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of strangeness that happens with that type of Bigfoot. You see the flashes of light in the forest, and then you have Bigfoot activity, and then it just dies down. It's like they disappear in the thin air. So yeah, it's, in my opinion, yeah, it could have more than likely went into portal or jumping dimensions or whatever you want to call it. I don't have the answer for it yet, but it wouldn't not surprise me a bit that it went into something and just slipped away.
Don Moore has a really interesting question, and it goes along with what I was just saying. Do you have a cave system near your house? I mean, because North Carolina does have a lot of caves and mountains. Do you have a cave system where maybe they could be coming in and out of the caves?
Not that I'm aware of, but I'm maybe 3/4 of a mile from a rock quarry, and this whole area sits on a granite dome of rock. There's a lot of rock here. So I do know that where there's some rock piles where something could go in and hide. I've never had the opportunity to go and investigate it. I've always wanted to, but you know, that's a good possibility.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the portal now. Let's talk about
Okay.
it. And did you have cryptid? You had cryptid activity before you found this portal and got the pictures, because you set up the cameras because you were having cryptid activity on your property, right?
Yeah, it was all I was trying to get and game cameras 99% of the time don't work. You've got to trick them. Me and Don and a few others, we've developed a way to trick them, and we've been pretty successful at getting game camera shots of them. So I pulled my trick, and sure enough, only got the one shot. You've seen it. I sent it to you today. But in the long run, and I probably went through 1,000, 2,000 photos whenever this new cryptid, or whatever we want to call this, showed up on the cameras. And but it was because of the Bigfoot activity on the property that I had the cameras out to begin with, or I would have never seen it. So
Okay. Well, let's why don't we show the picture first of what could be a reptilian of some sort? Let's show that first, and then we'll go back and we'll look at the portal pictures. And then I want you to tell the audience about your neighbors and what they saw too. Okay. So here's the first picture we'll show right here, and explain what we're looking at.
This is the the bright light that's there is actually a street light, or a booger light, we call them out here in the country. It's just a security light, and that's backlit the back part of the photo. That's about 200 foot from my camera, maybe, and I haven't measured it, but if you look off on the bottom left hand side, you see that white creature, and it looks just exactly like a reptile. It's actually a chain link fence that it's got those clawed hands on, and you see the reptilian head. You have to zoom in on it to see it, but it's plainly there. Everybody that I have shown this photograph immediately seen what I was talking about, and it does look like the classic reptilian that I've read about, seen pictures people drawn. It's pretty close. That's the closest thing I can say what it is. I didn't intentionally go looking for it. It just showed up on my camera, and there it is, for whatever it's worth.
Oh yeah. Well, you can see it. It looks like it's kind of crawling, or it's got one of its shoulders up in the air and the other one's kind of going down. It almost looks like it's, I mean, I want to say like crawling or something, but you said its hands are on a chain link fence.
Yeah, that's a 4 foot tall chain link fence, and it's
So
got
its
its
hands are
claws
on top of it.
on top of them. You can
Okay.
see it. Actually, that circle where I've got it circled, that bottom part of the circle's running right at the top level of that fence.
Okay. What kind of cameras did you put out there? What exactly are they? They're game cams, you said. They have night vision capabilities.
Yep, they have the infrared. They're able to take night or daytime still shots or video. I usually set mine up on still shots, because if a Bigfoot gets in front of your camera, and you're just going to see a blur if you try to get video most of the time. But
Yeah.
they're just your standard deer game cameras used for deer hunting, but they're smaller, and that one was actually well hidden. There's a couple that are out in the open, but that one was well hidden. But they still knew. The Bigfoot that I did get on camera, he knew it was there as soon as the camera went off. So,
Well, do your cameras emit that IR, that red light on them?
yeah, I take electrical tape, black electrical tape, and I cover up all the lights that can be seen. The indicator lights, when you trigger one, a lot of them have a little red light that flashes. I take black electrical tape and cover that up so that they don't see it. But some experiments and some photographic evidence that we have with other researchers that I work with, they can see the infrared. They can see it. We actually, a friend of mine's got a photograph of it looking directly in the camera, and you see its eye, and you can tell the pupil is reacting to the flash of the camera. It's contracting, and that alone tells me that, yeah, that doesn't happen unless you shine a bright light in somebody's face, in his eyes. So,
yeah.
I think they can see them.
Oh yeah. Well, you had picked up what looks like a portal too. So I'm going to go ahead and start showing these pictures here. So this is actually your backyard, if I'm not mistaken. So if you would just kind of go over some, because I have a series of pictures here, and it starts off small and it gets bigger. And since you've sent me these pictures, and since you and I have discussed these pictures before, I've had other people send me very similar pictures. They're rare, but I've gotten at least one or two other pictures that have a similar look to them. Where
that
the
one,
people thought they were
the photo you have up there, that is the original.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I seen, and then I zoomed in on it to actually see what it was. I didn't know until I actually got it downloaded onto my computer and downloaded it. Now this is the same camera, same angle, same everything. There's nothing changed about it. This is a month later after the Reptilian showed up. I got that one, and then about 2 hours later, I got the next one you see. And it looks like it's not a spider web. It was in December. It was cold. And then that photo you're looking at there, that was the last nighttime photograph that camera ever took. That camera shot. It no longer is capable of taking nighttime photos. So whatever that was destroyed my camera.
Wow.
It doesn't work anymore.
I mean, how often does that happen though, when we're out in the field and we're dealing with anything paranormal? I mean, even in your backyard, our equipment malfunctions, the batteries die, things fry, the electrical systems fry in it.
Yeah,
it happens.
I can't explain it, but that's the first game camera that I've lost that was, no longer operate. It'll take daytime pictures, but doesn't do me any good if it doesn't do night. But that's the first game camera that I've had, damaged or destroyed. I've had night vision, thermal, recorders, flashlights, all kinds. Just this past 2 weekends ago when we were in Uwharrie, started out with a full battery on my thermal. As soon as we encountered the 3 squatches, the battery drained to half power, and it stayed in that range till we got away from them, and then it went right back up to full power. And by the time I got back to camp, I was still full power on my battery. And then that thermal, my batteries will usually last 8 hours. So.
Oh, yeah. Okay, we have a question. We have a question from Outside Tesseract. Now, is that the street light that's causing that light? They're asking. This isn't the same area though where you had the street light in the background, is it?
Yeah, but that's closer. That's like, this is closer than where that light is.
Okay, gotcha. So that is the street light with the light, right?
That spiral look, if you look at it in detail, that spiral comes almost to the camera. It's maybe 10 foot from the camera.
Oh yeah. So, but you can see it better from that light. Okay.
And the light is probably at least 200 yards away.
Oh yeah. Okay. Awesome.
It's pretty good ways away. I mean, yeah. I don't know. It just.
Okay. Very cool. Okay. So
this is a new one on me.
Oh yeah. These are awesome. Okay. Well, so tell me about what your neighbors have experienced at your property. Okay, because we have this picture of what appears to be something that looks very reptilian. Okay, there in your backyard. What have your neighbors experienced, and have they been spooked and been scared by anything?
Yeah. Just in the last 2 weeks, I was actually able to go and talk to the kids today. They know nothing about Bigfoot. They know nothing about the reptile man. They haven't seen any of these pictures. The mother has, and I know these people very well, and they got in touch with me, and the kids. One of their chores is to take care of the rabbits that they have in their backyard, and the back of their yard actually leads down into a big beaver swamp. The beavers have backed up the creek, and it's just a big hardwood swampland. And there's basically nothing in behind their house for a good ways. But something spooked the kids to the point that they will not go out in the backyard to feed those rabbits if it's anywhere close to being dark. The experience they had was in the daytime. It was closer to late evening, but still plenty of light outside. But they will not go back outside to feed those rabbits once it gets dark or close to dark. But they had, I was able to talk to them actually this morning. They finally calmed down enough, and their mom talked to them, and I went down and they were able. I let them tell me their story before I ever showed any kind of reference picture. What did you see? Initially, what they were saying resembled what we thought was a reptilian type creature. But after investigating them this morning, talking to them, both of them said the same exact thing to me at the same time. One of the Avery's 11 and Eli's 8. They both told me the same thing. They didn't have to correct each other. They told me the same story. Eli actually got a better look of it than his sister, but what he described to me was I would classify as a Bigfoot, but it was jet black with fur, didn't have skin. So I'm gonna call out a Bigfoot encounter, but it spooked the kids, but that just happened in the last 2 weeks. Maybe not even long, 2 weeks ago.
I mean, I would be scared to go outside if I were them too. Now, you mentioned something about the monkey men. Okay, so people in your area have been seeing these monkey men. Do you think this is from the same family potentially, like of the monkey men, the Sasquatches? They just live there.
Yeah, it's a generational thing. I'm sure that these that they're seeing, they're not the same ones that the 75-year and 80-year-old people experience, but it's the same bloodline, or it's the same family unit, just generations down the line. So yeah, they've been here for a while. Everything I've seen, I've heard some wild stories come from this neighborhood about things that the monkey man did, or heard. Some of the guys around here are real big into hunting. They had deer dogs, rabbit dogs, bear dogs, every kind of dog you could have to hunt. And they tried to turn the dogs out on them before. The dogs wouldn't even leave the box.
Oh, you just said something that spawned a memory in a thought. Monkey bears. Remember that phrase?
Yep.
That was that lady. Okay, so for the audience, we haven't talked about this tonight on the show. I would like to let the audience know you are actually the teammate that was out at the Meadow, because David goes out and does research with the Meadow Project. You're the one that spotted the portal that night.
Yep.
And that was you. That was the same night the lady showed up, it was very odd, who was trying to get the team out of the meadow to go look for monkey bears, like random. It was so weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're no stranger to portals.
No, that was my the ones in my backyard. If I don't know what to call that. It's new. It's something that showed up. If it shows up on my camera, I'm going to share it with you. At least with my close friends. But that was my first experience with something like that. And then the stuff that went on in the Meadow, that was a life-changing moment for me. It truly was. It's for the first time in my life, you look at things and say, we don't know everything. What we've been taught's wrong. And I know that for a fact now at 58 years old. There's something else out there that we've not been privy to the information that's been hidden from us, or it's life changing. You start looking at things in a whole different way, and it answers some of the questions to Bigfoot that I had 20 years ago. How are they moving from point A to point B, and you never hear them. You see a flash of light or you hear a knock and they're gone. And are they going into something like these portals? Are they, it just opens up a whole nother, when you think you have it all figured out, now you got another 1,000 questions.
No, absolutely not. I know. You just get more questions than answers. And speaking of questions, T-Bone, thank you for becoming, let me spit it out, a member of my channel tonight. I do have a channel membership. If you guys want to become a member, just hit the join button on my page, and I put exclusive content out there. So welcome in to the family, T-Bone. T-Bone's wondering, what is your opinion on Bigfoot? Is there a Nephilim correlation? What I know this might take a while, okay, but do you think there's a connection?
Earlier I said there were two types of Bigfoot in my experience. You got the flesh and blood, what I call flesh and blood terrestrial critter. He's just like a bear or a deer. And then you've got this other one, and it usually has red eye shine. But I get a feeling of evil or bad intent with these. They very well could be part of the Nephilim. That's been in the sitting around the fire at night in the Bigfoot world. That's been brought up 100 times. And I think there's two types. And yes, that there's one type that I really do believe could be Nephilim, especially after seeing what I've seen in the Meadow.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that leaves you scratching your head, and it does leave us with more questions and answers. Just like that film that you have, okay. And we're going to show some pictures. I would like to tell the audience a little bit about the experiences you've had with the little people, potentially aliens, okay? Because when we're out there looking for Bigfoot, we encounter a lot of other like other stuff, little beings, like little people, aliens, ETs. I've had personal up close contact with ETs before, okay? And I think it stems from the Bigfoot research, okay? And it does stem from this, because when you're out there, you're bound to run into other stuff. And you have a fantastic video that I've watched. It's a pretty long video, so we just have some still shots from it. And it looks like an alien or a little person peeking out from behind a tree back and forth. So let's talk about that now. Can you tell the audience what I'm talking about?
If you want to put the video up and let it play while I'm talking, and I'll go into detail. The little clip that we're going to show, are you going to show that little video clip?
No, it was a little too long to actually put on here as a clip. So I just have still shots. Okay, but we'll show the audience some of the still shots. We have them from a distance and we have them up close.
Yep, this was taken in 2015. I'm not going to disclose the location of where it was taken, but the entity is standing in between that tree that's got the shape of a V. There's over an hour's worth of video of this guy, this thing. There's actually 3 in the photo. When you take the still shots and zoom in, there's this one. He looks more like a reptilian. He's got a gnarly looking head. You'll be able to see it in one of the other still shots. There's the big-eyed alien, the classic alien look. And then there's another one there he is. You see that gnarly looking head. He's sitting there with his arms crossed watching us. At this point, let me go back. Whenever we first started seeing it, this thing only shows up on thermal. You couldn't see it with night vision, third generation military grade night vision, digital night vision. You couldn't see it with the natural eye. It was 25 feet away from us. That tree is actually lit up by a lantern that we had in our camp. It's that close. You couldn't see it, but it was clearly there on thermal. There's the big-eyed guy who sticks his head out. These are just still shots from the original video. The video is over an hour long, and but it's only about 30 inches tall. These little guys were maybe only 30 inches tall. We went back in comparison. I should have sent you one of our comparison videos of me standing behind that same tree, and I'm twice as tall as it. But there's three of them there. There's one in the background you can't really see, but it has a long neck and it looks like a dragon face or a horse head. It's really weird looking individual. But that one looks reptilian. The other one looks like a classic gray, and the one it's like there were three different types all together. But it wasn't supposed to be there. It's just woods, and you couldn't see with the net. I'm out here looking for Bigfoot, and this thing shows up in my camera. I'm gonna take a picture of him or a video as long as I can. But I actually got bored with it. It didn't leave. And my research partner, David Moser, he was supposed to be on the show tonight, by the way, and he got his scheduling mixed up, but he was there with me. And we also had a witness that wanted us to take him Bigfoot, and then this thing happened. But she got to see it. And I videotaped it so long, I said, I'm going to charge it. You flank it. I'm going to charge it. We're going to see what happens. And it just disappeared. But with the thermal, you could see the transfer spot of where it had been standing. The ground was hot, but it just disappeared even off of our thermal. So that was my first experience with something that was dimensional. It's in between us and it. Optically you couldn't see it with the human eye, and you couldn't see it, but it left a heat signature that we were able to record and see. And
so it was there. It was there, dang it. Okay, it wasn't a figment of your imagination.
25 feet away. And then I didn't think about it till afterwards. Later on that night, of course, you don't go to bed after something like that shows up.
Right.
And we were up most of the night, and about 3 hours later, it's probably 4 o'clock in the morning. I'd have to go back to my notes and look at it. 4 more of them showed up, but further away from us. And they just squatted down and watched us all night and the rest of the night. And I actually have video of, there was one squatted down that had been watching us. 3 more walk into frame. Something spooks them, and one of them runs back the direction it's going, and it's almost like it's bending light. It's just like it's a blur. I showed you that before.
Yeah, I've seen it. It looks like, because we've been talking about little people here on the channel a lot lately, and when it comes down to like whatever we're experiencing out there, and there's the little things like you've like what's in that picture, it's like, well, okay, are these little people or are they aliens? Because I always categorize them as aliens. But now with all this research and everything that we talk about on my shows, I'm thinking, well, those could have been puckwudgies or something, in that video that you have, because they just look like it looks like they're walking in a single file line.
Yeah, they're one behind the other. And but they're all, we went back and any video that we get, we try to go back, recreate it. We try to take measurements. We try to get from the front of the camera to where it's standing. We walk it off. What type of terrain was it actually standing on versus where we were at? Elevation. We went through all of that, and the best we can come up with, they're no more than 30 inches tall, maybe even a little shorter.
Wow.
But it's, I don't know, they're bipedal, they're humanoid. I don't know what it is. And there's,
yeah,
there's another video. We don't have a copy of it, but I think we can put a link to it. David Moser's site, The Runner.
I'll put it in. I'm putting it in the chat right now. Okay.
That one, people can go check it out, and it's very close to where this was taken. And this thing runs past us so fast that it's transparent, and you can hear it. In that video, I'm walking up ahead of David Moser. He's operating a thermal, and you actually see me turn to my right. And I thought we had kicked up a rabbit. Honestly, that's what I thought it was, what it sounded like. But we didn't even realize we captured it, that David had captured it on the thermal video until he got back home and was reviewing footage and seen it. It was just a fluke that we got it, but it was the size of a Bigfoot type creature, but it's moving so fast. And Ed Peters he's in the chat, or he was. He actually helped us go back, and he helped David Moser go back and do a recreation and measure. Everything we do is thorough, and it's I don't know what that is, but it's very. It runs in the same thing. You can't. We didn't see it. We heard it, but it showed up on thermal, and it's a blur.
Okay, I have the link in the live chat right now, so you guys go check out the link. Keep listening to us, though. Y'all don't go anywhere now, okay? But be sure to watch that. It actually looks like a human size or bigger, like like the Predator, basically. It looks like something that we've been talking about a lot on the channel lately, with the movement of Bigfoot and the movement of Dogman and the movement of all these different cryptids. They don't move like anything that we're used to seeing. It's almost like Brown Dwarf's in the chat, and he talks about with his sighting. I think it was a Bigfoot sighting. It looked like it was like a cartoon flip book. Like it's almost like it's missing a frame or something. It looks odd, but this thing moves really quickly, and it's almost transparent. And it does look like something like from the Predator movie or something. So, but you said that it had been analyzed by FLIR or whoever Dave had bought his camera from.
Yeah, David had actually talked to one of the engineers with the manufacturer of the thermal. That's why I was hoping he would be able to join us tonight, because he had those answers. But that thermal, the frame rate on it is 30 frames per second, and the thermal was not able to lock on. And I can't remember, to save my life, how fast they estimated that it was moving, but it was up there. And Ed's in the chat. He may remember, because he was helped to us do some of the reenactments, and some other people were involved too. But it was moving, and we weren't able to reproduce it at all. We didn't even come close.
Wow.
It was I don't know. Yeah, that was another one of those mind-blowing moments.
It is. Well, you guys are going to have to check this out. And I want to thank Brian Singh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for the super sticker. He said, see you at the 2004 Full Disclosure Now conference in Florida this July. I am a headliner, you guys. Oh my gosh. I'm going to be speaking down there at St. Pete's, Florida. Y'all, please come see me. It's another one of those events where I'm going to be live and in person down there. Barry Littleton's even going to be there too. I mean, we got a lot of people. A lot of my friends are going to be there, including Brian. So thank you, Brian, for that. I appreciate you. Yeah, so you guys, check out the video. It's in the live chat right now of this being, okay, in whatever this is. It looks like the Predator. Does your gut tell you that's a Bigfoot, David?
No,
No.
It was moving way too fast. If it is, it's one of the type 2, I call it. It's in that realm of supernatural Bigfoot. It's able to do things that we can't. But I don't know. It's another one of those unknowns, and it was moving. It could have been a Bigfoot. It could have been a predator type alien. I don't know. I really don't know. And you can look at it 1,000 times, and there's no, I don't know how many times I've looked at that video trying to figure out what it is, but it does look like it has to me, uh, like a mane almost, like it's got
A mane. Okay, well then that would be
it goes
something
back
that,
to some of the Bigfoot I've seen with that big head, and it's like they have a big head of hair. And
okay.
I mean, the best way to describe it's some of the Egyptian hieroglyphics of the wolf head or the fox
Anubis.
head, the
Yeah,
big head
Anubis.
and the small body.
Okay, well, I was about to say it because we get the reports that we get about dogmen. Okay, and I have a lot of guys coming and women too come on the show saying that they have encountered a dogman, and a lot of them describe it as having a tuft of hair on the back of its neck, like a lion's mane, kind of on the back on its back. And Chris Harper's in the chat. Hey, Chris, thank you for being here tonight. Yeah, he goes out with us too. He's another field researcher as well.
Yep.
So, man, we got a great crowd tonight. We really do. So do you think, I mean, okay, so that kind of opens it up too. I mean, that could have been anything, but I mean, somebody in the chat was asking, could that have been something that was cloaked? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, when we first realized that David had captured it, that was one of the things we were running through our head, is trying to figure out what this is. Was it a cloaked Bigfoot? Was it, even though it's moving super fast, could it have been cloaked? And it may very well have been, but it was transparent looking at it with a thermal. And anybody that's had any experience behind the eyepiece of a thermal, everything's solid. When you look at something with heat, it's solid. And this thing is transparent. And I'm sure Chris Harper's seen that video before.
Yeah.
But like me and a few others that's in the chat, we've had the luxury of sitting down at a computer and looking at it over and over and over, frame by frame. It's transparent. It's got skinny legs, but it's bigger in the upper body. But I don't know. To me, in my opinion, it looks like it has a mane.
Okay. It does. And Donna is in here. Thank you for being here, Donna. She says, if they're moving that fast, can they go through our body? Like, can they go through our body, solid objects and things, without our body composition being changed? Could they go through our body, like a Bigfoot run through us or something? The first time I ever went out Bigfooting, the first night I was out there, I think Chris Harper might have been. I'm not sure if Chris was there or not, but it was with ERG up in North Georgia. And I was up there, I was walking by myself. I don't think Chris is on that trip actually, but I was walking. I got dared to, basically, I was being bait, David. I was being bait. I wanted the full experience. Okay. And so I volunteered basically to be bait. And I was walking up this hill, and something ran up behind me, and I thought it was one of the guys. I just thought it was one of the dudes playing a trick on me. I didn't know those people very well. I had just met all of them pretty much that day, most of them that I was with. And so something ran up behind me, and it knocked my legs out from behind me, and it kept running. And I swore it was a person, but there was nobody there. I heard it, I felt it, I experienced it, but there was nobody there. And to this day, I believe that could have, I don't know, I can't prove it, but I think that it was potentially a cloaked Bigfoot or something, because it was something. It may not have been a Bigfoot, but it was something that happened. So
going back to another experience we had in the same general area, it was me and David Moser, and it was the first time that I took my grandson with me. He was 13 years old. I figured he's old enough, because when I'm out there, if we tell you don't move, and he understood at 13, 14 years old that when I ask him to do something or to act a certain way, it's for a reason. And so I took him out there, and he decided one of his friends wanted to tag along. And so I said, okay, we'll take you. I took him down to my secret spot, and all night long. You know, they started as soon as it got dark. The first night, actually, his friend we put them in hammocks. We were in tents. We put the boys in hammocks, and
Bigfoot burritos.
yeah, and his friend Clayton was laying in the hammock with a headlamp on, and the Squatches were throwing rocks right across in front of his light beam, just one right after the other. And he said, "I can't take this no more." And I said, "Well, you know, we're 5 miles out. We ain't going out of here tonight. You're stuck." So he goes over and sits down beside the fire. And as soon as he sat down, he leaned back against the tree, and they threw a rock about the size of a baseball and hit the tree that he was leaning up against, and it bounced, fell over in the creek. Well, I got everybody stirred up. So me and David Moser and my grandson, we decided we're going to walk away from camp a little ways and go down the creek. And we see this red eye shine, and this goes back to the ones that can do stuff that we can't explain. And we see it walk down the trail. It's coming from up a higher elevation than us. We see its red eyes shining continuously, shines all the way till it gets to the creek. There's a creek between us and it. It steps across the creek, and when it stepped across the creek, it went down on all four and come charging straight at us. And I had night vision. We didn't have a thermal at that time. We had night vision and a Sony night shot camera. This goes back a time. And I could clearly see it with one eye coming at me, red eye shine. But the night vision, all I could see was the brush parting as it was coming at us. And it got within maybe 5 feet of us and turned. And it went, kind of circled back around to the creek, went back across the creek, and as soon as it stepped to the other side of the creek, it was automatically back up on 2 feet again.
Oh.
It turned around, looked at us, red eye shine, and it walked back the same way it came. It never turned its head. So how it knew where it was going, but it never turned its head, and it watched us till it went out of sight. But that's another one that's like, you couldn't see it with night vision. You could see it with a natural eye, but it wasn't showing up on night vision. All it was the brush that it was coming through was just parting, but you couldn't see nothing.
That is so wild. That's
that
wild.
Yeah, we look like the Keystone Cops. Moser was going one way, I was going another. My grandson was in the middle. He kind of got smushed up, and we was going to exit stage left. But
yeah, have you ever seen? Oh my gosh, David, have you ever seen a Bigfoot do that spider crawl? T-Bone brought that up. I was thinking that too. I've never seen the spider crawl before, but I don't know. Have you seen that?
No, but I've heard a lot of stories. I had something happen the other weekend. I just seen it out of the corner of my eye, and if it wasn't a turkey, it could have been a Squatch low crawling, the spider crawl. But I didn't see enough of it to say, but I've heard of it, and some of my other teammates have experienced it and seen it, and I've heard stories. But other than getting down on all four and charging, I've never seen them actually get down and do the spider crawl. I think it'd be kind of creepy, but
it would be very creepy because it's hard enough to figure out what you're looking at half the time out there, and when you're looking at things like some of these cryptids, especially ETs, they don't look natural. It looks like there's something weird about it. And I get a lot of reports of people saying that they look like a cartoon. It doesn't look real.
It's almost like they're in between dimensions, and we're only getting part of the picture. We're only able to, our physical eyes are only able to lock in on a certain portion of them. And you're only seeing part of the picture, kind of. It's a weird, hard to explain experience, but it's almost like they're in between dimensions. That's the best way I can explain it. I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, in between dimensions. That's what we've said about the Meadow, where we do some of our research together, you and I. And that's what I think Daryl was the first person I heard say that. He's like, it's almost like the dimensions are overlapping. You know, there's something there. I mean, because we research some of the most highly strange areas. Okay. But I mean, I think there's places like the places that we research all over the world. I mean, and there's so many. I mean, I alone have gone to like places all over the South that I know we call the Meadow the Skinwalker Ranch of the South. That's what it's been dubbed. But there's those places all over. And you had mentioned Uwharrie earlier. I mean, that's a place that was one of your research areas for a while. That place is like the Skinwalker Ranch. It could be because there's more than just Bigfoot stuff going on there.
Oh yeah, there's orbs. You had Kristen Payton on not too long ago. She was there and she actually witnessed an orb come up out of the ground and then split off into 4 different colors and then rotate around itself. And it did that, and it just started getting closer to him. And I think Grumpy, who just recently passed away, I think Grumpy lit it up with a flashlight and it dissipated at that point, but because he come out to look for monsters.
I know. I love me some Grumpy. It's never going to be the same without Grumpy. It will never be the same. Never.
Yeah. There'll be some hard shoes to fill.
It will be. So he actually turned into a ball of light one night and shot across the field out at the Meadow. So, man, it really does. It gets more weird every time we're out there. Something happens. But wow. Yeah. So orbs are another thing that we experience a lot. And Kristen's gotten a lot of good footage. She's actually the one who pulled out her FLIR or her night vision and recorded that portal at the Meadow that you located first of all. So you were the first one to spot it, but she filmed it. Yep. So wow, man, this has been amazing, David. I mean, we could probably talk about this stuff all night. We really could.
For hours.
We
just touched on just a few points, but like Don, he can, he's in the chat. Don Tart.
Don's been in here all night.
Hundreds of encounters in Uwharrie and other places that we could talk about. And Chris Harper, I see he's there. We've all experienced so much stuff, and you can't talk about it in 1 or 2 hours. I could go on like this. If I brought up every experience that I've ever had, I could go on for probably a week.
Yeah, you could. Chris is saying so Chris goes out and researches where I go out and research too. He comes out with Enigma research group with me in our team sometimes, and he does his own research too. But he says, I've seen one do a sideways crab crawl in northeast Georgia in 2013. I think I might have been there that weekend. Through FLIR at about 100 yards. It was between the tree line and the grass in a field. Went from standing on all fours. Yeah.
I remember hearing about it. I wasn't there, but I remember hearing about it.
Oh yeah. It's got an ant here on my table. Yeah. It's there's never a dull moment. There isn't. And Northeast Georgia has a lot of Bigfoots, by the way. The Georgia mountains have a lot of Bigfoots. And I think more than anywhere, and I know I've done some research. I mean, I was researching in New York last year too. Long Island Bigfoot's in the chat tonight, David. I actually got to go up to Montauk, and it's Brian too, Brian Solarby, that's in the chat. I went up to Montauk with them, and Long Island Bigfoot took us out, and we did some. He took me out and some of our other buddies, and we did some Bigfooting up there. And so I can say that I have done Bigfooting in New York now. But yeah.
I think the furthest north I've been is West Virginia, and Virginia is about as far north as I've got. I've been all the way to Florida, though.
Oh yeah, me too. Florida's got a lot of good Bigfoot activity too. Yeah. So Bigfoots are utilizing these portals, okay, and the reptilian. So do you believe that reptilian, whatever this is that you have on that camera, on that photo, did it come out of that portal, you think, or did it come out of the ground? I mean, what exactly is your thought on that?
I think it's coming through some type of, it's dimensional. It's either a portal or it's moving through a dimension. Whether it's using a portal or how it's doing it, it's coming from one reality to another. And yeah, it's they're not here all the time, or they're here all the time, but they're just not. And you know, and a lot of that stuff I call demonic. They're I think they're demonic. There's good and bad, and nothing in between. And
Yeah.
could
Well,
very well be
that's a question that I get all the time. Is like, do you think aliens are demonic, or do you think these cryptids are demons? And some people say that the ones with the red eyes are demons. Okay,
Yep,
so do you think
that's
that?
that other thing that we haven't talked about it much, but the dimensional stuff, I think all of that is demonic. The dimensional,
Yep.
the stuff that's jumping time, I think a lot of that is demonic or angelic. But there's something else there. It's something that I just, the portal in the Meadow, it had that what blew my mind the most, and I seen it the longest, more than anybody, trying to figure out before I even opened my mouth to let somebody else know that there's something out there. I looked at it for probably 5 minutes trying to figure out what I was looking at. It had a Christian cross on the left hand side of it.
It did.
And that blew my mind. What, what's the symbol of Christianity doing with this? And this was, I don't, is it angelic? Is it something of God, or what? Is it satanic? I don't know. It blows your mind. It took me weeks to wrap my mind around what we experienced down on that trip.
Oh yeah, I had forgotten about that part. I thought there were two crosses on it, right? It was just one. It almost looked like it had windows on it.
You had on the left hand side, it was a cube with a doorway, and the doorway, it wasn't just an open, and it had like a stepped down entrance. So as you went into it, it stepped down, blocked out. You know what I'm saying? Like one block, a smaller block, smaller block, smaller block. And then off to the left was this cross. The only difference between a Christian cross and this cross was down where the feet cross on a Christian cross, where the feet would be, was another smaller crossbar. And that just blew my mind. And I studied it, I don't know, a good 5 minutes till I looked over at Terry. I said, Terry, what am I looking at? And I held my thermal over there, and he said, where? I said, it's right there. You can't miss it. And it was huge. And he said, what is that? And I said, I don't know. We discussed it back and forth and looked back and forth with one another for a minute or two. And finally I turned to Kristen and said, because at this point I'm trying to, is it a glitch in my thermal? Because there was too many right angles. Is there something glitching out on my thermal? I want to know. And I asked her to turn around. She had our back to us. She turned around with her thermal. And she said, what is that? And she hit the record button. As soon as she hit record, it just faded out. But
it knew it was being watched, maybe.
Yeah.
It was, like and that's why, I feel like sometimes when we go out there and we don't take equipment, we get activity. Maybe we get more activity because we don't have cameras and stuff. And that's kind of the crew that goes up to the North Georgia area, like ERG. Like we're up there a lot, or we used to be, at least. And we didn't take a ton of equipment usually up there, and I felt like we had a lot of interaction, including that's what Chris Harper was saying, that he saw the Bigfoot like spider crawling up there. I mean, there's you know, I don't know. Just like the whole thing with guns and pew pew sticks, you know. Uh, so,
They know you have it on them. If you have it, if you have
mhm,
that with you, they
right,
don't get as close. You may
sure.
see or hear, but you don't get that intimate experience where they come in close to you and interact with you, where you can, you know, you get that fright or flight mode, and you either get out of there or you hang around and enjoy it. But
Yeah.
uh, if you got a gun, pew pew, trying to use my words here because we're on
It's okay.
YouTube,
It
but
doesn't matter. We've already said it 10 times tonight. It's okay. I don't care.
but if you have one on you and it's visible, especially if it's visible, they seem to know, and they know
They do.
your intentions. I think uh, you go out there, you're sure of yourself because you have that on you. Uh, they can read into it. You know, much like a dog. A dog can feel your energy that you're putting off, and you can turn a otherwise timid dog can be aggressive towards you because you're showing fear. And you know what I'm saying? Uh, but if you're stern with an aggressive dog, you show your dominance over that dog. A lot of times, you know, they'll keep their place. Uh, but if you show fear and he's coming after you, and it's like that with everything else. I got a chicken like that. If you act like you're scared of him, he'll chase you all over
Oh
the
my God. I bet. Oh my gosh. Oh, I mean, those are great points. Absolutely. I mean, uh, the Bigfoots can smell, and the Dogmen too. I mean, I am thoroughly convinced they can smell your fear. Okay, and that's why
yard.
it's so important to keep your head straight when you're out there, and that's why I love the fact that a lot of our team is like trained in the remote viewing and the psychic stuff. You know what I mean? Because there is. What do you think about the telepathy aspect and stuff? Have you ever had mind speak with any of the Bigfoots?
Nope. But I have had, and it I think I read into it a lot differently than other people just by you know, from what I've experienced. You know, our bodies subconsciously, we pick up pheromones of danger, of a predator. We're able to smell it, smell that danger. We're able to pick up through sensory that we're not even used to using. And I think our body reacts to the smell or the vibrations that they put off, the infrasound. You can feel it. You don't hear it, but you can feel it. And I think our bodies react to it, and we assume we're being told to leave, but no, it's your body telling you to leave.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Yes. Now I wanted to address these questions, and there's the Eric has a question right here. Hey Eric, thank you for being here. He wants to know. Okay, so he went and corrected it, so it's not prowling. I think it's portaling. So could the portaling ones, the ones that come through portals, be demons taking a shape to cause fear or to disguise themselves? I don't know. What
That's
do
very
you?
possible.
Yeah.
That's possible.
Okay.
And you go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Well, this is a different one too. No, we can address that one and then we move on because I wanted to address this one too. Lake Geneva says I used to get medicine wheel shapes in my infrared. I think that's cool because Eric was just talking. I think it was this morning actually, and he came on my show on Thursday night. Um, he joined me to. I guess we were talking about that demon dog. Okay, that turned out to be a puppet. Okay,
Yeah,
but we were talking about this, and someone in the chat had asked about like a native portal, like a Stargate, right? Native American. And somebody in the chat, I think it was DA or somebody had said that medicine wheels were actually portals. Okay, medicine wheel shapes. So that's really interesting that Lake Geneva is saying I used to get medicine wheel shapes in my infrared because that could be some sort of a portal or a Stargate. I don't know. Have you ever
very
seen
well
one?
could be. And going back to the, you know, taking on a shape, you
Yeah.
know, a demon coming in and taking a shape that we can recognize or see. You know, that's, in my opinion, that's possible, and that may be also why we get so many variations in the Bigfoot type creatures versus Dogman versus Lizardman. They're all very similar, and they're just taking on a form that's similar, but they're not all the same. You know, and most demons, if you study enough of demonology, there's so many different demons and so many different personalities, and you know, whatever the form they decide to take, I fully believe, yeah, that can happen as part of it.
Yes. Oh yeah. Oh, and
And that would go
William
along with,
did. Oh yeah.
that would go along with the feeling of pure evil. Sometimes you get out there, and
Ooh,
it's only happened a couple times with me, but you feel like what you're dealing with is just permeating evil. It's just, you feel it. You can taste it almost, and all you want to do is leave. And in those situations, most of the time, I cut a duster. I make like a
oh,
ghost and disappear.
I know. I mean, that's when you have to go with your gut, and there's no point in sticking around if you feel like something, if you're in danger, or if you
Yeah.
feel like something's stalking you or whatever. It's like, just get out. You know, if something feels like you don't need to be there, don't be there. I mean, I have literally hit an energetic brick wall out in the field, and I was not going forward. Like, it was almost like something put an invisible wall right in my path, and I didn't go forward. I
Yeah.
know too many stories, okay, about people getting eaten and disappearing and ending up
And
in
it,
David Politis's book series.
and it doesn't necessarily, it can be a group of us out there, and everybody else is feeling fine, and it only affects one person. You know what I'm saying? Only
Yes,
one
that's right.
person feels the effects or has the senses danger. The rest of us is happy go lucky. And my group, and when I'm in the woods and I'm with a group of people, if one individual feels like it's time to go, if nobody else wants to leave, I will personally escort that person back to camp, because I've been there and I don't want to be out there, and I'll leave. And I always keep it, because I know it. A lot of times it won't happen, but to one person, and I why that happens, they target an individual, and I don't know. It's
Yeah.
there again. That plays in with the demonic end of it. They're trying to take advantage of a person's weakness, and they're hitting them,
Oh,
or they
oh,
know they're
the
strong
weak link.
enough and they're trying to weaken them
Right.
down.
Well, that's what demons do. They go for people when they're weak, right, in a vulnerable position, and that's when they strike. Okay, or
Yep.
when they assume they're in a vulnerable position. Vulnerable. I can't say it. So yeah,
Yep.
it's this is spiritual, David, right? I mean,
Yep.
Bigfooting and sovereign cosmic wild man. I saw that. I will consider doing a show on universities and cryptids. I think that's interesting. He's saying that cryptids surround universities. It's things he's seen massive cryptid evidence around his local universities. That's really cool. I'm going to consider doing that. But yeah, so this is a spiritual thing. This is not just 3D. It's not just like interdimensional stuff. We're dealing with the spiritual realm, and especially when it comes to some of these things like the skinwalkers and whatever else we're coming into contact
And it
with.
goes back,
Even
goes back to what I said at the very start of the live stream. It's good and evil. It's it's either it's angelic and it's there to help you, or it's demonic and it's there to destroy you. And that's the only way. That's the best way I can cut it, is good or evil.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's the
that's
simplest.
that's that's the yeah. That's like the black and white. It's like good or evil. Okay,
Yep.
and well, yeah, that's an interesting take on it too, and I can appreciate that. And yeah, I mean, nothing's going to stop you from going out in the woods though and do any more research, right? And you've got stuff in your backyard, David. So
Yeah.
what kind of steps are you going to take now? Are you going to try to prevent things from coming into your backyard, or are you just going to live harmoniously with the monkey men, that as they're
I'm
called back
trying to
there?
live.
What's your
I've been
plan?
here for 30 years, and uh, we've had a couple scary moments. We've been growled at before. Uh, but I try to leave these alone. I go somewhere else and monkey with them. I've had a gifting station set up. I was successful at that, receiving gifts. They would take my food items and I'd get gifts in return. And then they took and brought in the bulldozers and cut down the land and built houses, and that's that. But yes, for the most part, I just I let them do their thing and I do my thing. I don't mess with them locally. I don't want to have to go out and deal with them when I go to the trash can, take my trash out at night. I don't want to build up no relationship with the ones here at home. I'd rather leave them in the woods a couple hours away.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've seen them at their good and I've seen them at their bad. I don't want to live with it. And my family doesn't want to live with it. My girlfriend's a lot of times terrified at night, especially when they come up and slap the house. And, I try to be supportive and, they're just there to let you know they're there. Or, throwing a piece of cornbread out the back door. That's what they're actually there for.
Oh gosh. Well, that's when you're getting into feeding them. So there's a lot of debate on that too.
Yeah.
That may be why they're there. That's Be careful.
And actually, one of the elderly guys, he's actually passed away now. He's the one with the hunting dogs, and he was telling me him and his wife, they set up one night with the back door open, just a screen open, listening to the man walk back and forth in the woods behind their house, back and forth, just pacing. And he said, I sat there with my shotgun and was going to shoot him when he showed up, but he never did. He said, but as soon as we went to bed, we finally, went to bed. He said, just as soon as I turned the lamp off and my head hit the pillow, he said, something come up. And he said, you could hear it run up to the house, slap the side of the house, and then run back to the woods. And I said, yeah, they all had always took all their scraps. When they got done with dinner, if they had any scraps, they went to the edge of the woods and dumped out. And Bigfoot was just looking for some scraps, He was waiting on scraps. He was waiting on that treat. And I said, feed him. You feed them, and they won't be stalking you so bad.
Well, Trish, hey Trish is in the chat. Trish said that this is a good point. She says, I would rather feed them than have them eat our chickens or rabbits. Good point. I totally get it.
She's always worried about them coming in and messing with her animals. Her animals are that's a big part of her life, and she got 2 new baby chicks hatched out last night, and she had to go and see them.
Oh, well, congratulations on your new babies.
With her babies, her fur babies or her feathered babies. She don't want nothing messing with it.
Oh my gosh, that's wonderful. I'm glad. Well, yeah, it's better for them to have some cornbread than the babies, for sure. It is. It is. How does Trish? I know Trish, you're in the chat. How does Trish deal with all this? Is she okay with the activity that's going on back there?
Yeah, for the most part. The night my dog the one when the dog attacked the one that was in the driveway, that shook her up pretty bad. That scared her, and she was more scared. She thought she had a dead dog, and because the dog didn't come back for about 45 minutes, and when it did show back up to the front porch, it was covered in blood, but it wasn't the dog's blood. It was whatever it had got hold of out there. But she was scared, and I come in. The first thing I want to know if there's a blood sample, right?
I know, right? That's the research brain. That's the research mind. Yeah. T-Bone, thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that so much. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, yes. Well, I am sending all of my love to Trish and to all your animals over there, and you too, David. This has been a great conversation with you tonight. I think I've even learned some stuff tonight. Okay, I like to learn something every show that I do, and I know the audience has really enjoyed this. And my goodness, I'm not going to keep you here all night. We've done it. We've gone almost 2 hours on the show. So but we haven't had more to talk about. But I would love to bring you back sometime, David. Whenever you got a free night.
Most weekend nights I'm here for the most part, and if not for Miss Jessica, I'll make time. Like I said,
Oh, thank you.
I'm honored to come on here.
Well, thank you. I'm honored to have you here, David. You are, like I said in the beginning, you're one of the OGs in my book when it comes to Bigfooting. And you've taught me a lot, and you've taught my son a lot too. So I'm forever grateful for you. And my son will always think of you as I mean, he's got a lot of things to remember you by, but it's you teaching him the tracking and stuff. And I've been taking him out a lot lately, and we've been doing a lot of animal tracking. Okay, so he's really into it. So we're teaching up the new generation of Bigfooters. Is what we're doing.
That does no good. I used to keep everything real tight and close, all my secrets and my techniques, and it does me no good to die with the 30 years of knowledge that I've acquired and what I've learned. It does no good for me to die and not be able to pass it along to somebody. So I've gotten now to where I try to share as much as I can, especially with young people like Ben and my grandson. I try to teach them and show them, and hopefully you take my 30 years or 20 serious years of Bigfooting, and if I can teach them that in a one short year, whenever they get started, they're already 20 years ahead of where we were when we started. So maybe they can finally get to the answer. It doesn't take a lifetime to figure it out. I've spent most of my adult life now chasing these things, and I wish I'd have had the knowledge that I know now 20, 30 years ago. I wish I'd known it then, and maybe I figured it out, but maybe I still have more questions than answers.
We still got more questions and answers. We always will, probably. But that's the beauty of it. It's all about the journey, not the destination, is what they say, right? So we're just on our Bigfoot journey, and it's just it's just a lot of fun. Oh my gosh, thank you, CS, for that. That's so sweet. I appreciate it, man. You guys, everybody's been so generous and so wonderful in the chat tonight. We've got some of the best comments, and I do have the best audience in all of the internet, I tell you. David, this has been a lot of fun tonight. And oh yeah, Donna says, yeah, teach the rest of us. We would appreciate that, Mr. David, she says. So yeah, man, the comments keep rolling in. So thank you guys so much for being here. David, where can people find you? Are you still active with Carolina Cryptid Field Research team?
Yeah, that's my go-to. Here lately with work and stuff, I've not been as active online as I used to be. But if somebody wants to get in touch with me, they can go through there, and me or Matt Hooper, he's on there. He usually keeps up with the Facebook end of it. I'm not. I'm old school, but the Facebook end of it, Matt handles a lot of the questions and stuff that come across with the YouTube channel. I try to keep up on my YouTube channel and answer comments and stuff, but it's hard trying to work and chase Bigfoot
and take care of all them rabbits you got. Right, all the other stuff. I know
she's willing to breed some of the does, and I'm like, 30 days you're gonna have another 20 rabbits.
Oh my god, yeah, they do multiply quite a bit. Yeah, but hey, we love our pets. We do love our pets. We got to take care of them. I mean, leave the cornbread out, man. Leave the cornbread out. Keep them away from the rabbits. That's all I got to say. Okay. I have changed my mind on gifting. Okay. Just in this instance. But yeah, David, this is awesome. I can't wait to see you back out in the field sometime. And I'm going to have to come up to North Carolina sometime soon and get out there with you guys.
Yeah, you need to come up, and I'll take you to Uwharrie, and I'll take you to all the unknown good spots.
Oh shoot, yeah.
Nobody knows anything about. So
top secret, classified.
They're still there. They're just as active, but I keep those, real. Those places I keep secret because 90% of it's ruined. You can't do any serious research. You can't go out and I go to the woods. I want to interact with Bigfoot, And so I have to go to places that I know will happen, and usually does. So we'll go out there and I'll take you to the good spots. Maybe you get to have an alien, Bigfoot, UFO, orb weekend.
I attract the aliens. I am the alien attractor, apparently. So, I mean, maybe I am an alien. I don't know. There's some kind of tracking device in me or something, because everywhere I go, I seem to have UFO activity and aliens. When I'm just out there trying to look for Bigfoot, okay, what's the deal? What's the deal? So
it's something else. That reminds me.
Weird.
All the time I've been doing this, I've never seen any dimensional alien, that type of stuff until after 2012. I think the Mayans had it right. We had it wrong. We went into the world didn't end. We just gained some knowledge. So, the 2012 has something to do with it, because prior to that, I've never seen anything on FLIR or night vision, anything, and that's another show. So
it's another show. Oh my gosh, yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole on that one with the 2012 and the dimensions changing and all this. There's a lot to go to look at into that. So, yeah, thank you, Trish. I will come up and hang out with y'all sometime soon. Okay, I'm gonna put it on my calendar for sure.
Yeah, the first time I took her there, she found her first track.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, 2012 was an odd year. Okay, so, man, all right, but we've got a bunch of years ahead of us, and we've got a lot more research to do. And man, thank you for your contributions into the cryptid research field. Okay, the cryptid field research arena. Like it is a better place because you're in it, David. So thank you for everything you've taught me, and for all of the evidence that you have gathered, and all those boring nights in the field that have become, or some of them that were super exciting. Thank you for all of that, because I do appreciate that very much.
All right. I want to thank you for having me on here. It's been a real privilege. I enjoy it, and
thank you.
You're one of my favorite people. So.
Well, thank you. Ditto. Okay. Well, awesome. Thank you, David. You're one of my favorites too. Okay. I think we got a pretty daggum cool team, actually. Like all of us that go out and most of the Bigfooters I know, I'm going to say 99% of the Bigfooters I know are just amazing people. Amazing. Those boots on the ground field researchers are the coolest people, because they're just as weird as I am. Okay.
And some of the very best ones are right there in your chat tonight.
That's right.
Yeah. Some of the very most experienced ones are right there in the chat. We've all been there and learned it together.
That's right. And and some of the best researchers, you may not even have ever heard their names before. Okay, so there's that too, and I always mention that during some of my shows. I like to mention that a lot of the people who are doing like some serious research that are out there all the time, like yourself, you're not plastering your evidence all over the internet and all that kind of stuff. I mean, we keep it to ourselves. A lot of it amongst ourselves and our team and our network of people that are out there in the field. So it is a pleasure and it is a treat to get some of you, like yourself, David, on my show to come talk about it. So you heard it here first, everybody. You saw the pictures yourselves tonight. So thank you for sharing that reptilian looking thing. We're just gonna call it the reptilian. Thank you for sharing that, because you've never shown that to anybody publicly, I don't think, right?
The alien stuff I've showed in a few conferences I spoke at. And
yeah,
but other than that, not really. None of it's ever really been plastered out there. Most of it I keep to myself. So.
Oh yeah, into our team, show our teams and stuff. So thank you. So man, okay. Well, promise me you'll come back. Okay, promise me you'll come back and we'll do this again. Okay.
Anytime. Just let me know.
Okay, awesome. Well, everybody, thank you guys so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for all the super stickers, super chats, and man, from the bottom of my heart, and thank you, T-Bone, for becoming a member of my channel tonight. You guys are the best. Please come back and see me tomorrow night. I'll be at Spaced Out Radio at 10 p.m. Eastern, and then come back next week. I got more shows.
I need to give a shout out to Ava and Ellie. our two little Bigfoot witnesses in the neighborhood. So about forgot them.
Ava and Ellie, is that what you said?
Yep. Yep.
What's up, y'all? What's up, kids? You guys stay safe out there, and you watch after your good friend and neighbor, Mr. David, because he's a good guy, okay? And he'll protect y'all, okay? So don't live in fear. Don't be scared, y'all.
Eli. It's Eli.
Oh, okay. Eli. Okay.
I don't think that's his brother's name.
Ava and Eli. Here we go. Trisha's got it. All right, Ava and Eli.
There we go. Yeah.
Yes, Mr. David will protect you guys, and do not live in fear. Okay, don't live in fear, kids. Everything's gonna be just fine. Okay. All right. Well, this has been crazy awesome tonight, David. Thank you for being here. You guys, thank y'all for sticking around for 2 hours. We're on the 2-hour mark, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks again, and y'all stay safe out there. Be sure to lock your doors, and but don't live in fear. All right. See you, David. Y'all have a great night.
Yeah.